Hey guys, Vazzy back here, and it is finally time for episode 5 of our Pittsburgh Penguins franchise mode here in NHL 25, and in today's video we will be starting out the 2025-26 regular season. So you'll see our lineup does remain the same if you did watch our previous video. We got Tarasenko on the team now, have a lot of the younger guys called up now, hopefully can mix well with our vets that we have on the team. We'll have to wait and see. We signed Ryan Lindgren in free agency, gave him a little bit more money than he probably should have got, just over $5 million, but very solid defensive defenseman. Will be playing up there with Carlson, and we still have Jari and Blomqvist in the net. So let's get on with the sim. Let's jump into this first game here against the Anaheim Ducks and see if we can start this year out with a win. 2-0 Ducks, that's definitely not ideal. 3-2 after 2, Malkin and Ilian. That's not too bad. I think that's his first career NHL goal. Brian Rust ties it up at 3. Overtime goes nowhere, and in the shootout, Matthew Savoy wins the game for us here today. That is awesome. 2 of our young guys getting on the board, helping us get that first win of the season. Unfortunately, it looks like Mason Appleton does go down there to injury. One of those guys we picked up in the offseason to give us some depth in the bottom 6. Who should we fill in there? Should we throw Phil in there? Maybe let's wait for Phil. Let's get Travis Boyd in there. He's a good bottom 6 bet. Should be able to fill in there for Mason Appleton. So yeah, let's just continue on here. We have the Vancouver Canucks up here. Can we make it 2 straight wins to start the season? We do. Big 4-2 win over the Canucks. Heading up now. Oh, it does look like Appleton's back. We'll wait for the moment. Heading up now against the Buffalo Sabres. That's a 7-3 loss. That's a bit of a tough one right there. But let's go get Mason Appleton there back into the lineup. We can take Travis Boyd out there. Only would have been playing at very limited ice time. So we can get Appleton back in. And goaltending wise, Jari, let's swap him out for now. We'll give Blomqvist a couple of starts here. We're just going to be going with the hot hand here. Both goalies are similar rated this year. Going up next against the Montreal Canadiens. That is a big 7-6 win. So we're scoring goals. Maybe not the prettiest wins ever, but doesn't matter how you get them as long as you get those wins. Up next against the Vegas Golden Knights in Vegas. It's a 1-0 shutout loss. It's not great. We'll get Tristan Jarry back into the net since we do have our first back-to-back of the season. Jarry will go back in. I'll switch the goalies there in the AHL really quick. And then I think we are good to continue with the sim here. Big 2-1 win there against the Anaheim Ducks. Going up against the Oilers in Edmonton to finish off the road trip. It's a 7-5 loss. So again, we're scoring, it seems like, more goals here earlier in the season than we did last year. Just need to get those wins. It's a 5-3 loss to Winnipeg, going up against Ovi and the Capitals. Unfortunately lose Vladimir Tarasenko to injury. Isn't the longest term injury, which is good, but still. It's one of those guys we brought to play on that top line with a Crosby. We'll get Kessel in there, and then we'll just move up everyone else in the lineup, and we should be fine. Do we move up Rucker to the first line? Maybe let's just put Savoy up there. That's where he was after we traded for him last season. And then on the power play, we will just throw Matthew Savoy there on the 4-man. Get him a little bit more ice time. Hopefully can get a few more points and continue to grow. Also, we will switch out Blomqvist there and Jari, as we do unfortunately take a big loss there, 5-1 to the Washington Capitals. Go take a look at the stats here early, sitting 4-5-0. Crosby is absolutely crushing it still, 13 points in 9 games. Rust right behind him with 9. Tarasenko with 8. So that first line actually is looking like they're doing pretty good. Malkin 7 -5. Savoy 5 -6. Ooh, Mikhail Ilian -8. It's not great. Hayes is a big -2 points. Olsen -6. Defensively, whoa, what's going on with Letang and Graves? -12 and -13 through 9 games. Okay, so we got to split those guys up, and Jari has been awful, and Blomqvist has actually been alright. So still very early into the season here. Definitely some positives and some negatives with this team, but I think we have to make a few changes here with the lineup. Okay, so Hayes, McGroarty, only 4 points there. Honestly, maybe we switch him and Rust, try and give him that opportunity with Crosby. Phil's coming down. He'll go on that forward line for now. Hayes, he really wants to play second line. Do we swap him with Malkin and try and get him up further in the lineup, or do we put him on the wing? The issue is then we don't have a center because none of those guys can play center naturally. Maybe we'll leave it for now. Lingard and Graves, just split those guys up. The chemistry stays fine. And Blomqvist will continue to get the next few starts. Hopefully those changes will work. Like, it's not everyone playing bad right now, just a select few lines, so I don't know, we'll see. Big win there to start things off against the Carolina Hurricanes, as Vladimir Tarasenko will be returning to the lineup. That is huge. Get a little bit of reinforcements back in. Hopefully continue the wins. Kessel a -3 in his one game. Wonderful. So Tarasenko will turn back in, and we will get him back to his top line spot there with Sid. Honestly, maybe let's move Malkin up, and then Hayes can go second line center. McGroarty can go on the wing, and then yeah, Savoy will go third line center, because then everyone's in their right position. Continue on here against the Boston Bruins. Currently 5-5-10 through the regular season for us. That is a 2-0 shutout loss to the Bruins. Against the Columbus Blue Jackets, we lose Sidney Crosby. At least it's not a long-term injury. It's just over a week, November 24th. But you lose your captain, you lose the best player on the team. It's not good. So just kind of move everybody else up, and honestly, I'll just get Kessel back in there. Has those offensive stats at least, and these menus will all be bugged out like normal. We are good to continue on with the sim. Back-to-back here against the Wild. I actually should have switched out the goalies. Let me go and do that here real quick. I want to say we're getting Jari back in the net now. Yeah. But Blomqvist 9-17 early on. 8-6-5 for Jerry. We really need Jerry to start picking it up here, especially with the amount he's getting paid. Up against the Wild, it's a 5-2 loss right after I say that. That's not a good performance. Going up against the Edmonton Oilers here at home. That will be a big 2-1 win in overtime. Okay, so he's going to get the numbers back a little bit there. Against the Toronto Maple Leafs up next. That is another 5-2 loss. And against the Buffalo Sabres here, that is a 4-1 win. So we have a back-to-back game here coming up against the Leafs and the Canadiens. Sidney Crosby finally is coming back. Probably let him sit just for now because I'm sure it's a lingering injury. Let's see, yeah, so he's not 100% ready to come back just yet for the Leafs game. We'll check against the Habs. So, continue on against the Leafs. That is a big 3-0 shutout. There we go. So up against the Canadiens, let's go see if Sid's ready, and then we will also go and switch out the goaltenders. So Jari will come out with Blomqvist, and Sid is good to go. Awesome, so we got our captain back here. I'm guessing this is probably like a Saturday night hockey night in Canada or something like that. Returning to the lineup. So Sid, let's get all the lines back to the way they were. He'll go on the first line, switch him with Malkin. Honestly, we can just load up that first line. Keep Hayes, Bunting, Rust on the second. McGroarty's been alright, Savoy, Ilian have been okay. Have the kid line. Let's maybe move Bunting down and McGroarty up. We'll split those two lines up a little bit. But yeah, let's continue on. Against the Montreal Canadiens, we lose Chris Letang. So we get one of our best forwards back, and we lose one of our better defenders. It's not ideal, so who do we have scratched here? I think it's Sebastian Aho, the defensive one. It is. So we'll move up Jacob Bernard-Docker in his place for now. I'm sure it's going to say the power play is all messed up, which it is not. Yeah, I don't know why it always does that. Against the Canadiens, it's a 3-2 loss. Continuing against the Columbus Blue Jackets, we lose Olsen. I'll just do the autofill for that one. As Letang's back, so I guess I didn't actually see how long that injury was. Wasn't very long. Again, I'm sure it's probably a lingering injury. It is. We'll wait a couple days before we bring him back. But moving on here, we have a not back-to-back, but 2 games in a row against New York teams. First, the Islanders. That's a 4-2 win. And against the New York Rangers here at home, that will be a loss in overtime. Okay, so we should be able to get Letang back in, which is good now. That was a little bit of a break for him. Let's see, Chris Letang. We'll get Sebastian Aho back out of there. Bernard Docker actually has been doing pretty good this year. Has a good little run with us there through the first 20 games. Letang's back. We'll switch out the goalies. Blomqvist still holding that .920 save percentage. It's looking pretty good for him. We might have a good future in net there. We'll have to see. Between him and Ivankovic, the guy we drafted, could be a little bit of a good competition between those guys. So, going up against the Flyers here, why not jump into this one? Is one of our bigger rivals. See if we can get on the winning ways. 1-1 after 1, McGroarty and Frost. 4-2 after 2. Letang, Crosby, Ilyan for us, Michkov for them, and Rust adds 1 for us. It's a huge win there against the Flyers by a score of 5-2. So honestly, not sitting with the worst record here, sitting at 12-9-1 currently. We'll be going up against the Toronto Maple Leafs next in a back-to-back here with the Dallas Stars. Big win there against the Leafs by a score of 8-1. Wow. There we go. I'll get the goalies switched out here for the game in Dallas, but wow, that is a huge win there against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Blomqvist will return to the lineup. But here actually is the box score from that game now that we can go back and check it all out. Tons of pluses all the way around. Hayes with a 4.9, Rust with 3. And yeah, just a great effort there from the team. I love this edition now that we can go back and see some of those crazy scoring games, like an 8-1 game there against the Leafs. Like, it's cool that you can actually go back and see all the scoring and get all the summaries on that. I love that from this year's game. Continuing on here up against the Dallas Stars, that is a 4-3 loss in the shootout. Continuing on against the New York Islanders, that is a 6-4 loss in regulation. And another back-to-back here starting with the Kings. It's a 4-3 win for the Penguins. So let's go switch out the goalies. Sitting there, we're actually sitting in a playoff spot still. 14-10-2, 30 points. Good for third place in the division. So honestly, it's not been the worst start. I'm pretty confident that we weren't in as good of a position last year. So, you know, always measuring from the year before, that's good to see. Looking at the overall points scoring for our team, Genny Malkin leading the way, 27 points in 26 games. Crosby right behind him. Rust, Tarasenko still up there. Hayes. Rutger's actually been doing pretty good too, 15 and 26. Savoy a little disappointing, limited time on ice. Mikhail Ilyin still -8, at least that hasn't gotten any worse from the start of the year. Kessel there. Olsen hasn't been amazing again. He is getting very limited ice time there on that third and fourth line. Going over to the defensive side of things, and it looks like for the most part it's kind of stabilized from a pretty rough start. Letang and Graves plus-minus is getting better. And Jari and Blomqvist. Honestly, Jari's got his numbers back a little bit. Blomqvist are still good. They are falling slightly. It is something we will be keeping tabs on here throughout the sim. Up against the Winnipeg Jets, that's a big 2-1 win against the Jets. Going on here against the Islanders, feels like we've played the Islanders a million times so far. Can we beat them here? We do. 5-1 win over the Isles. Up next against the Ottawa Senators. That's a 5-4 loss against the Sens. Tampa Bay Lightning up next. Can we get a win here? That will be a 5-2 win against the Bolts. There we go. So we've been picking up some wins here. I actually like how this team is kind of feeling here. It's not too bad. Carolina Hurricanes, divisional rival, up next. As we get Olsen back in the lineup. I think I probably will throw him back in, even though it will probably be a lingering injury. He is playing fourth line for us at the moment. Honestly, Kessel there. Looking at his stats, I was expecting him to be kind of a train wreck defensively, but 7 points, 18 games, a plus player. It's a little bit surprising there from Phil. Big win there against the Carolina Hurricanes, 7-1. Let's go look at the box score again. Why not? Let's see who is performing in that big win against the Canes. Love this feature here. So where's our game here against them? There we go. 7-1 Penguins. Who was doing all the goal scoring? Wow, most points scored was only 2. So it looks like the scoring was very divided throughout the lineup. Jari with a .962 save percentage. And a huge win from your Penguins. Sitting at a record of 18-11-2 now. We just got to keep up with this winning ways here, and you know, I think we hopefully should be on a pretty good spot for the playoffs, sitting second in the division right now. Up next against Ovi and the Caps. It's a 3-2 loss there. Unfortunately, continue on with the sim here. Have the Vancouver Canucks up next, followed by the Kraken in a back-to-back. First off, against the Canucks, that will be a 3-1 loss in regulation. But let's go switch out Jari. He's actually been putting up some, not as bad performances of late. But let's get Blomqvist back into the net here since it is another back-to-back. Also switch up the AHL goaltenders here quickly, get Philip Larson some more games. And I think we're ready to go here for the last little bit of the season here, last little bit of the stretch of the first half anyway from this episode. As we lose Sidney Crosby once again. This one looks like it'll be a little bit of a longer term, I want to say just over a month. That is not great, so Malkin, you're going back to first line center. Rust, you will be moving up. Kessel, get back in there. You've actually been surprisingly good for us as a depth forward. Bunting can maybe move up. Olsen will definitely move up. Power play is going to say it's all glitched again. And yeah, I think we're good. Let's continue on with the sim here. Did we beat the Kraken? We did. 5-0 win over the Kraken. Continuing now on our little bit of a road trip, it seems, against the San Jose Sharks. That will be a 3-0 shutout to San Jose. Continuing on, it looks like the last game of the road trip here, going up against the Calgary Flames in Calgary. It's a 5-2 loss, so need to pick up some wins here. Come on, guys. Against Ovi and the Caps once again. That will be another loss by a score of 6-2. Like, we go on these winning streaks and then we just can't follow them up. I know we don't have our captain. I know the lineup's not as good as it possibly could be, but come on, guys. We need to get a couple more wins here. Let's get Rust. Maybe let's switch Bunting. Let's get Mikhail Ilyin up there. He can play with Malkin and Tarasenko. I know his numbers aren't fantastic, but we can kind of get that Russian connection line going there on the top line. Riker, honestly, I'm fine with. Hayes, I'm fine with there. And Rust, I'm fine with as well. They've been putting up great numbers. Bunting has sucked. Savoy's been okay. Olsen's been very mid, but limited ice time. Defensively, how are we looking? Graves, Carlson, Lindgren, Letang, Shillington, and Bernard Docker. Honestly, no issues there on defense. Everyone's actually playing pretty good for the most part. So, we just have to find some ways here to get some wins without Sid in the lineup. Can we start things off here with a win against the Kraken after those line changes? We cannot. That's a 5-1 loss. Come on, guys. Yeah, it's not having Sid definitely is hurting our chances quite a bit here, unfortunately. Against the Jackets, it's a 3-2 loss now. Come on, guys. What is going on here? Need to get a win here against the Sabres. Have one more game in the episode after this. It is a 5-4 win in overtime over the Sabres and our losing streak. And against the Philadelphia Flyers here will be game number 41 of the episode, which is where we will be wrapping up. But may as well jump into a slow sim here. Come on, guys, let's finish off with a huge win over Philly. First period, 1-1. Tarasenko and Matvei Michkov. After 2, still 1-1. Third period, who's going to be our hero? And Tarasenko, it looks like he gets the hat trick. Chris Letang and Kevin Hayes add goals as we will win the game by a score of 5-3. So there we go. Halfway through our second season here in Pittsburgh, sitting with a record of 21-18-2. It's good for a wild card spot at the moment, but we have Carolina, we have Columbus right on our tails, and it's going to be a tough one here to make it. We desperately need to start winning some games here. We were looking really good there, like not even a month ago, and we've kind of trailed off here a little bit. So Brian Rust leading the team in points, interestingly enough, 37. Hayes, Malkin, Crosby was doing amazing before his injury. Definitely got to get him back very soon here, hopefully by early on in the next episode. Tarasenko, 28, hope for a little more. It's not too bad though. McGroarty, 28 as well. Savoy, 18 and 41. Mikhail Ilyin, minus 16 now. You might end up having to send him down. He looks like he might be kind of our weak point here on this team, unfortunately. Defensively, honestly, I have no issues with this team. There's a couple of negatives, but it's nothing egregious. And Tristan Jarry with the 9-on-1 save. Wow. Blomqvist fell to an 896. Both goalies have split about equal times, so maybe we have to run with Jarry here. Just continue to run with the hot hand in net. But very interesting spot we find ourselves in here for the second season in a row. I don't really want to buy it right at the moment. I kind of want to wait right before the deadline. I also don't want to sell anything right at the moment. We could go on a huge winning streak and we could be awesome making the playoffs, or we could completely fall off the cliff here in the second half and get another really high draft pick. It's so hard to tell with this team, but it's a decision we'll have to end up making in the next episode. But with that being said, that will do it for today's episode. I will see you all in the next video.